realm of modern warfare, few aircrafts command as much respect as the Northrop Grumman B-two Spirit, a new generation stealth bomber, one so advanced that it easily slips through the deadliest air defenses, wreaks havoc, and vanishes, all without being spotted. Iran is a testament to the silent might of the B-2, and the United States is now testing a new B-2 built to remain in service for an astonishing 100 years. What makes this bomber unstoppable, and why does America want it to last for so long? Join us as we unveil the brand new Northrop B-two Spirit that the U.S. is testing to fly for a full century. In July 2025, Iran had the misfortune of having 3 of its nuclear sites bombed to ashes by the U.S. after it attacked Israel, a U.S. ally. And the bomber in question? The U.S. B-two Spirit bomber. You might be wondering how the B-2 easily made a mess of the nuclear sites. That's because the Northrop Grumman B-two Spirit is a strategic bomber, which is the perfect embodiment of low observable stealth technology designed to penetrate formidable anti-aircraft defenses. Iran has been very quiet since their bases fell at the mercy of the stealth bombers, a testament to the might of the B-2. And now the United States is testing the brand new B-two Spirit to be in action not for a decade or two, but for 100 years. To understand why the U.S. wants to deploy the aircraft for so long, let's see what the beast is made of. A little history about the B-two Spirit dates back to the designs of revolutionary engineer Jack Northrop, who invented the flying wing aircraft. This design was first introduced in the year 1949 as the L-1B-49, but unfortunately it was rejected at the time. However, Northrop's fly-by-wire technology laid the foundation for advances in stability systems. These systems allow inherently unstable aircraft like the B-two Spirit to be flown like conventional aircraft. The aircraft is constructed from a combination of tough materials. We're talking titanium, graphite epoxy, fiberglass polyamide, graphite polyamide, and fiberglass epoxy, particularly on the leading edge and wingtips. However, don't be deceived by its seemingly soft outer skin. Beneath the surface lies a robust framework of high-strength steel ribs that allow the wings to flex and bend as needed during flight. To maintain its stealth profile and reduce its heat signature, the engines are buried deep within the aircraft's body. They draw air from the front and expel only slightly warm air, which prevents heat-seeking missiles from locking onto the plane due to its minimal thermal signature. Moving to the B-two Spirit's cockpit, it is compact with the commander and pilot seated side by side. Interestingly, the aircraft is equipped with ejection seats. When in an emergency, the protective covers pop open to allow the crew to evacuate the aircraft if necessary safely. Inside the cockpit, advanced avionics systems are present. These include a fuel control system, an attitude display unit, the weapon control system, and a terrain-following radar. Together, these technologies enable the pilot and co-pilot to navigate and operate the aircraft even in darkness or regions with blind spots. The B-two Spirit frame structure is a different thing altogether. There's the composite wingtip at the front, which comprises the ribs of the outer part of the wing. Both integral fuel tanks can hold approximately 167,000 pounds, which translates to about 75 kilograms of fuel, a significant amount. It is an insanely gas-guzzling machine. To put into perspective, this aircraft's fuel reserve can fill up 2 tanker trucks. There is another section of the fuel tank at the back. In case you're wondering, they are specifically designed to penetrate deep into Russian territory, about 6,900 miles. Furthermore, it can travel double that distance deep into enemy lines while avoiding radar detection, thanks to this rotary air refueling system that extends all the way out. This maximizes its range to 12,000 miles with the Boeing KC-135 Stratotanker and allows it to remain airborne for 44 hours. That is almost 2 days in the air, which is a remarkable engineering feat. All that fuel is consumed by these 4 General Electric F118 turbofan engines, each with 17,000 thumb-hundred-pounds of thrust. For the side, the B-two Spirit has its engines buried deep in the airframe with an S-curve in front and behind. This is how it reduces its heat signature. Air is sucked by the fan rotor as it draws in, which undergoes powerful compression in both the low-pressure and high-pressure compressors. As the air enters the combustor, this is where fuel injection occurs. This process generates a continuous combustion of fuel and air reaching temperatures of more or less than 1,000 degrees Celsius. The resultant heat causes the gas to expand, leading it to escape from the combustor with high energy flowing through both the high and low pressure turbines. As a consequence, the turbine blades rotate. The energy liberated by this process drives both the compressor and the fan, thus producing thrust. It should be noted that the B-2 Spirit does not use afterburn because as a stealth bomber, it has to compromise on speed to lower its heat signature. The exhaust from the engines is mixed with ambient air before it exits the airframe. This significantly lowers the temperature of the exhaust, hence reducing the heat signature, suitable for the stealth bomber to remain undetected as much as possible. For a conventional aircraft, it has ailerons at each wingtip that move opposite one another to roll the plane. It also has elevators at the tail that affect pitch, and the rudder controls yaw or rotation. However, if we look at the B-2 Spirit, it doesn't have all of those control surfaces like a standard aircraft. You'll notice that there are no leading-edge slats. The massive wing, which essentially comprises the entire aircraft, generates enough lift on its own. Instead, the B-2 Spirit has outboard elevons located close to the split drag rudder, mid-elevons, and inboard elevons near the engine exhaust. These control surfaces are located all over this area and move independently. As a single unit, they can move opposite one another to achieve roll and work together for pitch control. They also use a combination of both for maneuvers that require some roll and pitch at the same time. As stated, almost every aircraft has a rudder and elevators to turn and stabilize the plane, but the B-2 Spirit has none of these. This is because any vertical structure would reflect radar waves, which is why they had to design it without a vertical stabilizer or rudder at the rear. Instead, they use this technique of split drag rudders to provide directional stability and control in a flying wing aircraft. But as opposed to conventional rudders, the control efficiency of split drag rudders is typically low for small deflection angles. That is why the B-2 Spirit turns very slowly compared to other military planes. Each split rudder consists of two separate panels that swing out vertically in opposite directions. When the left split rudder opens, it produces drag and causes the B-2 Spirit to yaw to the left in the direction of the open split rudder. The same effect occurs with the opposing right side split rudder. There's also the billion radar paint technology, which is still classified, but here's what we know from aviation experts. It involves the use of radar-absorbing material, also called RAM. RAM is a polymer-based material applied to the surface of stealth military aircraft, like the F-22 Raptor and F-35 Lightning II. Moving to the weapon system, the developers of the aircraft envisaged a Cold War scenario, and based on that, the B-2 was to perform deep penetrating nuclear strike missions, making use of its stealth capabilities to avoid detection and interception throughout the missions. There are two internal bomb bays in which munitions are stored either on a rotary launcher or two bomb racks. The carriage of the weapons loadouts internally results in less radar visibility than external mounting of munitions. The B-2 is capable of carrying 40,000 pounds of ordnance. Nuclear ordnance includes the B-61 and B-83 atomic bombs. The AGM-129 ACM cruise missile was also intended for use on the B-2 platform. The B-2 features a sophisticated GPS-aided targeting system, GATS, that uses the aircraft's APQ-181 synthetic aperture radar to map out targets before the deployment of GPS-aided bombs, GAMS, later superseded by the Joint Direct Attack Munition, JDAM. In the B-2's original configuration, up to 60 GAMS or JDAMS could be deployed. An upgrade program in 2004 raised the maximum carrier capacity to 80 JDAMS. The B-2 has various conventional weapons in its arsenal, including Mark 82 and Mark 84 bombs, CBU-87 combined effects munitions, Gator mines, and the CBU-97 sensor-fused weapon. In July 2009, Northrop Grumman reported the B-2 was compatible with the equipment necessary to deploy the 30,000-pound Massive Ordnance Penetrator, MOP, which is intended to attack reinforced bunkers. Up to 2 MOPs could be equipped in the B-2's bomb bays with one per bay. The B-2 is the only platform compatible with the MOP as of 2012. As of 2011, the AGM-158JASSM cruise missile is an upcoming standoff munition to be deployed on the B-2 and other platforms. This is to be followed by the long-range standoff weapon, which may give the B-2 standoff nuclear capability for the first time in a stealth configuration. Depending on the mission, the B-2 Spirit can switch to this rotary weapon system, enabling it to carry around 16 numbers of AGM-158 missiles, which can cost around $1.5 million each. When ready, a B-2 Spirit can drop this weapon payload discreetly. The AGM missiles unfold their wings to fly toward the target, traveling up to 230 miles, which is around. Agreed. The aircraft is pretty sophisticated, but how does it really work? The first step is the bomb deployment platform. As previously mentioned, a B-2 stealth bomber is designed to fly at a very high altitude. At that height, when the aircraft reaches the designated location and the conditions are optimal, it can release this specialized MOAB weapon system. The bomb is designed for precision, and the deployment height plays a crucial role in its trajectory and effectiveness. Then comes step 2, which is the targeting precision. The bomb is outfitted with advanced guidance technology, including GPS and inertial navigation systems, which are military-grade satellites. The third step is to adjust the trajectory. The guidance information and data are then transmitted to the bomb's 4 lattice motor fins located at the rear. These fins can move and adjust in real time, allowing the bomb to correct its course as it descends under the force of gravity. These adjustments are essential because the weapon does not have thrusters to change its trajectory. Instead, it relies on the movement of these fins and a high-altitude drop to control its flight path. This is why the bomb must be deployed from a very high altitude, so it has enough time and distance to adjust its trajectory accurately. The fourth and final step is the impact and penetration. The bomb, known as the Massive Ordnance Penetrator, already weighs a groundbreaking 30,000 pounds, which is around 14,000 kilograms. But when it reaches its target, it still strikes with immense force designed to penetrate deep into hardened structures such as bunkers. The energy upon impact allows the bomb to bury itself over 200 feet into reinforced concrete, ensuring it delivers its payload precisely where it is intended for maximum effect. Good luck surviving that. Little wonder Iran was helpless against it. Some aviation enthusiasts have asked what the purpose of the B-2 bomber when we have the B-52 Stratofortress and the B-1 Lancer. Let's take a look. Agreed. The B-52 is a raging beast in the sky, but it doesn't go first in an attack. So the first line of attack involves the B-2 stealth bomber. It first moves in to destroy high-value air defense systems like the famous S-400 Triumph and other surface-to-air missiles, effectively disabling them by using its stealth technology. After the B-2 Spirit, the B-1 Lancer is next in line. It flies at a very low altitude towards enemy targets to take out older anti-aircraft guns and missiles. And this is what paces the way for conventional aircraft like the B-52 Stratofortress, which can then sweep in to destroy any critical infrastructure without facing anti-aircraft threats. This is the reason they need both the B-2 stealth bomber and conventional bombers, as there are only 19 units of the B-2 Spirit in service to date. The combat effectiveness of the B-2 was proved in Operation Allied Force, where it was responsible for destroying 33% of all Serbian targets in the first 8 weeks, by flying non-stop to Kosovo from its home base in Missouri and back. In support of Operation Enduring Freedom, the B-2 flew one of its longest missions to date from Whiteman to Afghanistan and back. The B-2 completed its first ever combat deployment in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, flying 22 sorties from a forward operating location, as well as 27 sorties from Whiteman 8th B, and releasing more than 1.5 million pounds of munitions. The aircraft received full operational capability status in December 2003. On the 1st of February 2009, the Air Force's newest command, Air Force Global Strike Command, assumed responsibility for the B-2 from Air Combat Command. The B-2 stealth bomber is unique and very effective. But how much does it cost? Of all the features of the B-2 Spirit, the most outstanding is its cost. The B-2 looks worthy of a Batman film. But despite distinct appearances and world's first claims, the most notable feature is still its cost. The official estimate by the U.S. Department of Defense places the operating cost at nearly $150,000 per flight hour. This includes fuel, maintenance, crew salaries, and logistical support. A full B-2 mission can burn more than 50,000 gallons of jet fuel, depending on distance and refueling needs. With fuel costs fluctuating, this could exceed $60,000 or more per mission. When all expenses are added, fuel, maintenance, mid-air refueling, mission planning, and support aircraft, a full B-2 combat sortie or strategic show-of-force operation can cost between $3 to $4 million. And then after every mission, the aircraft still undergoes extensive maintenance and stealth coating reapplication, which is labor-intensive and highly technical. This alone can cost hundreds of thousands per mission. When the aircraft was first funded in the early 1990s, it cost $1 billion per unit. But after it was adjusted for inflation, each B-2 costs upward of $2 billion for a single aircraft. Let's put it into perspective for easier comprehension. Consider the price tags of other U.S. military aircraft. The F-22 Raptor, the world's first fifth-generation fighter, costs $350 million per unit. The C-17 Globemaster, which can transport tremendous quantities of U.S. military equipment around the world, costs up to $340 million per unit. The P-8 Poseidon costs $290 million per unit, and the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, the interconnected fifth-generation Marvel, costs $115 million per unit. As a matter of fact, Air Force One itself, which is designed to support the head of the entire executive branch in transit, costs $660 million. So you could buy 4 Air Force Ones for the price of a single B-2. You could buy 6 F-22s or about 17 F-35s. For the price of a single B-2, you could cover about 40% of the cost to build a Nimitz-class nuclear-powered aircraft carrier that houses about 5,000 sailors and 100 aircraft. Despite the staggering price, the B-2's ability to penetrate enemy defenses, deliver nuclear or precision conventional payloads, and return undetected is considered invaluable by the U.S. military, especially during times of global tension, like the current Iran-Israel situation. The B-2 Spirit is not the first stealth aircraft made. Though it now dominates that field, it has others before it. In considering the evolution of stealth in aviation history before the indomitable B-2, we can't ignore the Lockheed F-117 Nighthawk, which stands as another significant aircraft in this stealth lineage. The 117 was developed by Lockheed's secretive skunk works in the 1970s to counter advanced Soviet SAMs. It was the first operational aircraft built with stealth as its specialty. It had its maiden flight in 1981, and first production was delivered in 1982. The F-117 Nighthawk has subsonic twin-engine and boasts of a sophisticated suite navigation and attack systems, and it relies primarily on system. It carries an internal bay for ordnance, which is capable of holding up to 5,000 pounds, including various laser-guided and GPS-guided bombs. The 117 has a radar cross-section of approximately 0.01 square feet. It is also designed with a distinctive faceted shape to minimize radar detection. But there's a disadvantage. Due to the stealth design, its speed is limited to subsonic due to lower engine thrust and a lack of afterburners, which reduces its infrared signature. It was the limited capacity of the F-117 that led to the development of the larger and more versatile B-2 Spirit, which was delivered to Whitman Air Force Base in Missouri, 1993. By 1997, the B-2 had achieved operational capability. The B-2 Spirit was intrusive, designed for nuclear missions, but it has now adapted a dual role, handling both conventional and nuclear armaments. There are rumors that as the U.S. plans for the future, the aging fleet of B-2s would be replaced by a new generation of bombers. The Northrop Grumman B-21 Raider is being developed as a strategic bomber. But even as the new bomber is being developed, there's no sign the B-2 will retire anytime soon, and it's not slowing down. The U.S. is testing a brand new B-2 Spirit to stay in operation for a century. This might become the longest-serving military aircraft. The legendary B-2 Spirit stealth bomber has returned with groundbreaking upgrades that push the limits of military technology. Once a Cold War secret, it's now been transformed into a weapon that feels decades ahead of its time. From hypersonic readiness to futuristic invisibility, this aircraft has left rival nations scrambling to catch up. Why are experts calling it the most advanced bomber in history? And what does its rebirth mean for the future of global defense? Join us as we uncover the secrets behind the upgraded B-2 Spirit. The B-2 Spirit stealth bomber has just received a round of upgrades that defense analysts describe as almost unbelievable for an aircraft that first flew more than 3 decades ago. What was once a Cold War marvel has now been reshaped into something that feels designed for the next generation of warfare. At the heart of this modernization effort is a system called Spirit Realm 1, or SR1. With this open mission system setup, the bomber can take on new weapons and functions through simple software updates instead of requiring costly hardware changes. Thanks to this framework, the Air Force can integrate advanced munitions, such as the GBU-72 bunker buster, and may even prepare the platform to carry hypersonic missiles, all without dismantling the aircraft. Engineers took a very different approach with this upgrade. By adopting what they refer to as a software factory model, teams are now able to design, test, and roll out new features at a speed that would have been unimaginable in the past. This method reduces defects, speeds up development, and ensures that the new features work seamlessly alongside the B-2's existing avionics. The cockpit has been updated as well. Pilots now work with improved displays that provide real-time battlefield information, helping them plan missions more efficiently and react faster while in the air. Communication systems have been modernized as well, replacing the old single-channel setup with a system that supports simultaneous voice and data transmission. One of the most critical improvements came from advances in satellite communications. Through beyond line-of-sight connectivity, crews are now able to get real-time updates on targets and shifting mission requirements, even when operating deep inside contested airspace. This level of in-flight adaptability greatly improves overall mission flexibility. At the same time, stealth remains the B-2's defining advantage, and engineers have continued working to make it even more effective. A specialized survivability team has introduced both hardware and software enhancements to sharpen the bomber's radar cross-section signature. These tools give pilots the ability to detect, locate, and classify enemy air defense systems while still preserving their low visibility profile. This round of changes builds on earlier efforts under the Defensive Management System Modernization Program, which upgraded the aircraft's electronic warfare suite. The B-2 can now detect and classify threats while also gathering valuable electronic intelligence, all while remaining cloaked from radar. The timing of these developments is no accident. Both Russia and China have spent years designing advanced radar networks and missile systems specifically aimed at countering stealth technology. Keeping the B-2 ahead of those capabilities is vital, especially since the aircraft continues to serve as America's only long-range penetrating strike bomber. Today, just 19 B-2s remain in service after the loss of 2 aircraft in earlier incidents. Each one undergoes a full overhaul roughly every 9 years, which includes structural maintenance and the reapplication of radar-absorbing coatings. Because the fleet is so small, extending the life and relevance of each aircraft is considered essential for maintaining the United States' ability to strike targets anywhere in the world. The B-2 can deliver up to 40,000 pounds of conventional or nuclear weapons and, with aerial refueling, can reach intercontinental targets without detection. Until the new B-21 Raider enters service later this decade, the Spirit remains the backbone of America's deep strike capability. The Spirit Realm 1 program makes sure the bomber doesn't fall behind. By relying on continuous software upgrades rather than major redesigns, the Air Force can keep the B-2 responsive to evolving technologies and threats. Defense officials believe these changes will keep the bomber viable well into the 20s. The flying wing design that once looked decades ahead of its time has now been adapted again, proving that a concept born in the 1980s can still set the standard for next-generation aviation. The most expensive military aircraft ever built has now advanced to a point where it seems to defy the very rules of radar detection. How can a machine larger than half a football field disappear from the most sophisticated surveillance systems in the world? The B-2 Spirit achieves a kind of invisibility that once seemed impossible. Radar operators facing the aircraft often find their screens showing nothing but empty sky. Despite being 69 feet long with a wingspan of 172 feet, The bomber can appear no larger than a small bird on advanced detection equipment. The foundation of this ability lies in its design. Unlike older bombers that rely on vertical fins and sharp edges, the B-2 was designed as a seamless flying wing. The design of the aircraft forces radar signals to scatter in multiple directions instead of bouncing straight back to enemy stations, which makes the bomber much harder to track. Equally important is the special coating that covers the entire surface. This material absorbs those signals and disperses the energy as heat rather than sending it back to detection systems. Maintaining that protective layer is a constant challenge. Each bomber must be kept in climate-controlled hangars, and about every 9 years, the aircraft goes through a major depot cycle where technicians carefully strip and reapply the coating to preserve its stealth. The process costs millions of dollars per aircraft, but without it, the B-2 would quickly lose the low visibility that makes it so valuable. Even the engines were designed with stealth in mind. 4 General Electric F118 engines sit hidden within the wing itself. The air intakes use curved ducts that block radar waves from reaching the turbine blades, which would otherwise light up on detection systems. Exhaust nozzles mix hot gases with cooler outside air to cut down on heat emissions, lowering the aircraft's infrared signature. Heat-absorbing tiles, similar to those once used on the space shuttle, line critical areas of the bomber. These prevent heat tracking systems from locking onto the B-2 even when it operates at altitudes above 50,000 feet. Another remarkable feature is its contrail management system. Most high-altitude aircraft leave long vapor trails that give away their position. The B-2 can suppress contrail formation when necessary, erasing this common giveaway during sensitive missions. Stealth systems come together through what pilots call penetration mode, activated by a button marked PEN. Once engaged, this mode synchronizes all of the bomber's stealth technologies to minimize signatures across radar, infrared, and visual detection. Enemy radar crews often report nothing more than background noise when the B-2 is in this state. The idea of a flying wing is not new. Jack Northrop tested the concept with his YB-49 prototype back in 1947, which had the same wingspan as the modern B-2. Even Germany experimented with a similar design during World War II, building the Horten-Ho 229, but their version lacked the advanced materials and precision engineering that would make the American design truly practical. The science behind the B-2's stealth owes much to Soviet research. In 1962, Russian physicist Pyotr Ufimtsev released groundbreaking research on the way electromagnetic waves interact with different surfaces. His work was meant as pure science, but American engineers later applied those principles to develop the B-2's unique radar-deflecting shape. What began as a theory in a textbook eventually became the foundation for an aircraft designed to slip past Soviet air defenses. The result was the B-2 Spirit, a bomber that blends geometry, radar-absorbing coatings, hidden engines, and thermal management into a single design. Together, these features make it extraordinarily difficult to detect with conventional tracking methods. For air defense crews, the reality is simple. It is nearly impossible to shoot down something you cannot see, hear, or lock onto. Even with all the advanced stealth technology built into the B-2, the aircraft itself is useless without the right person in the cockpit. But what exactly makes someone qualified to fly America's most secret bomber? Since the B-2 Spirit program began, fewer than 300 pilots have ever been trusted to fly it. That number is shockingly small when you consider the size of the United States Air Force. It is often described as the most selective flying group in military history, with acceptance rates so low that even the Navy SEALs seem easier to get into. Getting selected is about much more than raw flying skills. Each candidate goes through psychological testing that digs far deeper than the usual pilot requirements. Military doctors look at personality traits, stress tolerance, and even how well someone can get along with others. Missions can last close to 2 full days, with 2 people locked inside a tight cockpit. The Air Force cannot risk putting 2 pilots together if there's even a chance they might clash or buckle under pressure. Physical skill is just as important. B-2 pilots must have excellent reflexes and steady hands, especially for tasks like refueling in the air, which requires near-perfect precision. The B-2 doesn't fly like any other plane. It has unusual flying wing aerodynamics that demand special handling skills. Learning to control it means starting almost from scratch, even for experienced pilots. On top of that, the security checks are among the strictest in the military. Candidates face background investigations that cover their personal history, family ties, and even their finances. The government wants to be sure that no one flying the B-2 could be blackmailed or bribed into betraying sensitive secrets. Training is another hurdle. Before touching the actual bomber, pilots spend months inside advanced simulators that recreate every system, warning light, and emergency the plane might face. Instructors throw constant challenges at them: engine failures, electrical problems, combat situations, and even extreme weather. Only those who make quick, smart decisions under stress can move forward. Mission commanders receive extra instruction beyond just flying. They are trained in weapons use, navigation, and electronic countermeasures that protect the bomber from enemy defenses. While the pilot focuses on flying, the commander handles the systems. Success depends on both working seamlessly as a team during missions that can stretch almost 2 days without landing. The B-2's cockpit is designed differently from most military aircraft. Instead of sitting one behind the other, both crew members sit side by side in ejection seats. This makes long flights easier to manage because communication is more natural. However, it also forces pilots to adapt to a wider forward view that feels very different compared to other planes. All B-2 flights operate out of one location, Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. The base has specially built hangars that control temperature and humidity to protect the bomber's delicate stealth coating. Pilots often spend weeks at a time training or preparing for missions, which means long stretches away from family. Interestingly, most B-2 pilots only fly a handful of missions each year. The bomber fleet is small, and each aircraft is unique. To stay sharp, pilots rotate between different planes so they remain familiar with how each one handles. For many, flying the B-2 represents the peak of their career. Once they retire from the program, they often don't move on to fly other aircraft because of how specialized the training is. Instead, some stay connected to the bomber community by working as instructors or taking contractor roles that support the program. The limited number of trained pilots poses challenges for the Air Force. Whenever the bombers are needed, commanders must carefully balance mission schedules, rest time, and training requirements. Each pilot represents years of investment and cannot be replaced quickly. It is this scarcity, along with the difficulty of the training, that makes the B-2 community one of the most exclusive groups in the entire United States military. These top pilots showed their true skill in missions that are still studied by military experts today. But here's the question: how could just 2 bombers completely change the way wars are fought from the sky? The B-2 bomber made its combat debut over Kosovo in 1999, and it instantly rewrote the rules of air warfare. 2 bombers flew missions that lasted 31 hours straight, leaving from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri, striking their targets in the Balkans, and flying back without stopping anywhere in between. Even though the B-2 made up less than 1% of all combat flights during Operation Allied Force, it destroyed nearly 1/3 of the priority targets in just the first 8 weeks of the conflict. Military leaders had never seen anything like this. Normally, hundreds of planes and multiple waves of attacks were needed to get the same results. The B-2 managed to do in one mission what entire groups of aircraft struggled to accomplish. The bomber named Spirit of America set a record during Operation Enduring Freedom in 2001. It flew the longest combat mission in history, 44 hours non-stop from Missouri to Afghanistan and back. The engines never even shut down during a quick 45-minute crew change, after which the aircraft immediately launched again for another 30-hour flight. In total, it stayed in continuous operation for more than 70 hours. Each B-2 carried up to 40,000 pounds of guided bombs and smart weapons on these missions. These weapons were so accurate that commanders on the ground reported that the B-2 was able to hit high-value targets that other aircraft couldn't touch. Because the missions were so long, refueling in the air was essential. Every 6 hours or so, a KC-135 tanker would meet the bomber high above enemy territory to transfer fuel. Both aircraft had to fly in perfect sync for the transfer to work, making it one of the most delicate parts of the mission. The B-2 quickly became the aircraft trusted to strike first. It opened operations in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Libya by slipping into heavily defended airspace that other aircraft couldn't enter safely. Once the B-2 had destroyed key defenses, other planes could follow. Today, this first strike role is standard military practice. What made the B-2 so valuable was its ability to hit any target in the world within hours of being ordered. It didn't need bases in other countries or staging areas closer to the fight. It could launch straight from the United States and still complete its mission. Its advanced navigation systems meant it could fly and strike accurately in any conditions. Using radar and GPS-guided bombs, it could hit through thick clouds, heavy storms, or complete darkness. Enemies learned that bad weather could no longer protect them. Each mission proved that the billions spent on stealth technology and long-range strike power had been worth it. The B-2 showed it could achieve major objectives while putting very few aircrew at risk and with minimal civilian casualties. Planning these missions was just as demanding as the flights themselves. Crews spent hours studying maps, enemy defenses, weather, and backup targets before even stepping into the cockpit. Sometimes the planning lasted longer than the actual flight. After the missions, reviews showed the same results again and again. The B-2 hit its targets more effectively than traditional bombing campaigns, while needing far fewer aircraft and weapons to do the job. Despite its remarkable record in combat, America's most advanced bomber faces a serious challenge that could weaken national security. The question is simple but troubling. Why are these rare aircraft disappearing one after another? Back in the Cold War years, the United States planned to build 132 B-2 Spirit bombers. Defense companies prepared for huge orders, expecting that the cost per aircraft would drop once production ramped up. The goal was to create a fleet big enough to eventually take the place of the older B-52 bombers. But history shifted. In 1989, the same year the B-2 took its first flight, the Berlin Wall fell. The Soviet Union collapsed soon after, and with it the need for such a large stealth bomber force. Congress slashed the order from over 100 to just 21 planes. That decision made each B-2 incredibly expensive, more than $2 billion apiece. With so few built, every aircraft became almost like a custom project, each with its quirks and demanding upkeep. Since entering service, the fleet has lost 2 bombers. In 2008, the Spirit of Kansas crashed during takeoff in Guam after faulty sensors caused it to lift its nose too sharply. The crew ejected safely, but the aircraft was destroyed, just like that. America lost 4% of its stealth strike power. Another bomber, the Spirit of Washington, caught fire during maintenance at Whiteman Air Force Base in 2010. Workers accidentally set off a blaze that damaged the bomber's delicate structure and stealth coating. The Air Force debated for years whether fixing it was even possible before finally bringing it back to service. In 2022, another B-2 was badly damaged in a fire and written off completely. That incident left only 19 operational bombers, each one now an irreplaceable part of America's long-range strike force. To keep them flying, every B-2 goes through a deep overhaul about once every 9 years. This isn't routine maintenance, it's a complete rebuild. Workers strip off and reapply the radar-absorbing coating, upgrade the electronics, and replace or repair major systems. Each cycle costs hundreds of millions of dollars and takes months before the plane can return to duty. The aircraft are stored in special climate-controlled hangars at Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. The stealth coating is so sensitive that both temperature and humidity must stay within strict limits. If exposed to bad weather or stored incorrectly, the coating can break down, making the bomber easier to spot on radar. Building the B-2 in the first place meant inventing new ways of making things. Northrop Grumman developed advanced composite materials, custom tools, and entirely new assembly techniques just for this program. Once the final bomber rolled out, those production lines were shut down. That means no more B-2s can ever be built with the same methods. Looking ahead, the Air Force plans to keep the B-2 in service until the new B-21 Raider is ready in larger numbers. The Raider is designed with modern materials and updated production techniques, and it also draws on lessons learned from the B-2 program. The first B-21 bombers are expected to be combat-ready later in the decade. For now, though, the B-2 remains the only aircraft that can slip past the world's toughest air defenses and strike anywhere on the globe. Losing even one more reduces America's reach and weakens its ability to respond to threats far from home. War on drugs in Venezuela is intensifying. Instead of symbolic shows of force, the United States operations now rely on precision strikes from drones, satellite-guided missiles, elite special forces raids, and now the mother of all bombs that leaves destruction in its wake. Cartel compounds once thought untouchable are being wiped out in coordinated assaults. What sort of destruction does the mother of all bombs leave in its wake? How would the cartels react to such an attack? Join us as we explore the devastating effects that followed as the United States B-2 Spirit drops. Another mother of all bombs on Venezuelan cartels. The United States military made history when it used the most powerful conventional bomb in its arsenal for the first time in combat. The weapon was the GBU-43, also known as the Massive Ordnance Air Blast Bomb. Many people called it the mother of all bombs because of its huge size and destructive power. Weighing over 21,000 pounds, the bomb was carefully pushed out of the back of a U.S. Air Force MC-130 Special Operations aircraft. The massive plane was flying over Afghanistan's eastern Nangarhar province when the order was given to strike. The target was a network of tunnels and caves in the Akin district. This area had become a stronghold for ISIS-K, the branch of the Islamic State group operating in Afghanistan. Militants there were using underground passages to hide, move weapons, and plan attacks. By dropping the bomb directly on this complex, the U.S. military aimed to destroy their hiding place and weaken their operations. When the Moab detonated, the results were devastating. According to U.S. military officials, the explosion killed at least 94 ISIS fighters. The blast was so powerful that it shook the entire region. The strike was widely seen as a show of American military strength. The use of the Moab caught the world's attention. Newspapers, television channels, and online outlets around the globe reported on the bombing. Many saw it as a message not only to ISIS, but also to other potential enemies of the United States. Analysts said it showed that under President Donald Trump, the U.S. military was willing to use its deadliest non-nuclear weapons without hesitation. Countries like North Korea were believed to have taken note of the signal of power. Now imagine what would happen if the same kind of firepower were directed at powerful drug cartels instead of ISIS. These criminal groups often build hidden labs, warehouses, and secret tunnels, much like terrorist organizations. A single strike with a weapon like the Moab could wipe out a massive drug production site in seconds. Cartel leaders, who rely on fear and secrecy, would suddenly realize that their hiding places offer no safety against such overwhelming force. It would send a chilling message to all criminal networks that their vast empires could be reduced to rubble instantly. The war on drugs, which often feels endless, might take a very different turn if cartels face the same level of military pressure once used against ISIS. When people talk about the mother of all bombs, it often gets confused with another monster in America's arsenal, the massive ordnance penetrator. But these two weapons, while both huge and terrifying, are very different in design, purpose, and use on the battlefield. Todd Harrison, a defense budget expert at the Center for Strategic and International Studies in Washington, D.C., described the Moab as a crash project. After the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks, the United States found itself facing al-Qaeda and the Taliban on unfamiliar terrain in Afghanistan. Harrison explained that this was an adversary whose tactics were uncertain and difficult to predict, and the U.S. military was willing to try almost anything to gain the upper hand. What began as a counter-terrorism campaign quickly spiraled into something far larger. The war did not go as expected, Harrison said, noting that no one imagined American forces would still be engaged in Afghanistan 15 years later. What was supposed to be a short fight became a long counterinsurgency and occupation. The Moab was never meant to be a polished long-term program. It was a quick-turn effort to meet an urgent battlefield need, not a formal procurement project. The Air Force acted as the system integrator, piecing it together from available technology, and in the end, only about 15 bombs were ever built. Interestingly, part of the bomb's design drew from technology found in Soviet-era intercontinental ballistic missiles. It was tested in Florida at Eglin Air Force Base back in 2003, but for more than a decade, it sat unused in real combat. That changed dramatically when it was finally unleashed against ISIS fighters in Afghanistan. Restarting production of the Moab today would be no simple task. Harrison pointed out that most of the original parts are no longer available, and newer components would require a redesign and fresh rounds of testing. Inflation and modern manufacturing costs would push the price far higher than the original estimates. For that reason, he believes it is unlikely that the Air Force will ever restart full-scale production, especially given the limited demand. But the Moab was never just about blowing things up. It was also about psychological warfare. Harrison emphasized that the bomb's very existence sends a signal. Developing and fielding it quickly showed potential adversaries that the U.S. was willing to innovate rapidly when faced with new threats. The idea that America could build such a massive weapon in-house, practically on the fly, complicates enemy decision-making and forces them to think twice. Retired Air Force General T. Michael "Buzz" Mosley echoed this point. He explained that the Moab was designed for wide-area effects, both physically and mentally. The sheer blast effect makes it devastating on the battlefield, but it also delivers a powerful message to anyone watching. It tells opponents and even allies that the U.S. is willing to unleash unprecedented force when needed. Mosley had firsthand experience commanding during this era. Between 2001 and 2003, he led the 9th Air Force and U.S. Central Command Air Forces at a time when the Air Force still had the BLU-82B Daisy Cutter bomb, the Moab's predecessor, deployed forward. While he did not comment on why the Moab was chosen over the massive ordnance penetrator for the ISIS strike, he did stress that both weapons were in limited supply. One thing that makes the Moab outstanding is that it is all about creating a massive air blast. As its name suggests, it is meant to explode above ground or just on softer surfaces, such as cave entrances or tunnel systems. The key here is that it does not have to burrow deep. Instead, it spreads its destructive power across a wide radius, flattening anything caught in the blast zone. On the other hand, the MOP is the Air Force's true bunker buster. This weapon was built to dig through reinforced concrete and earth to destroy hidden command posts, underground shelters, and other hardened structures. In terms of sheer size, the Moab is gigantic, tipping the scales at nearly 22,000 pounds. But the MOP is even bigger, weighing in at around 33,000 pounds, making it the largest non-nuclear bomb in America's stockpile. Yet weight alone doesn't tell the whole story. What makes the Moab so infamous is its payload. Packed with nearly 18,000 pounds of high explosives, it creates a blast equal to roughly 11 tons of TNT. In comparison, the MOP's warhead carries just over 5,000 pounds of explosives, less than a third of the Moab's punch. So why is the MOP considered the bigger bomb? Because size here is about purpose. The MOP's bulk is what allows it to punch deep into the earth before detonating, destroying underground facilities that normal bombs could never reach. The Moab, by contrast, is designed to devastate everything above ground or in shallow tunnels with overwhelming shock waves. It's not about precision burrowing, it's about unleashing fear and firepower in one enormous strike. Deployment is another key difference. The Moab is pushed out of the back of a cargo plane, specifically a C-130 aircraft, and once released, it uses its fins to guide itself toward the target. The MOP, however, is far more advanced. It is GPS guided and designed to be carried by stealth bombers such as the B-2 Spirit. This gives it the ability to penetrate defended airspace and deliver its deep striking payload with pinpoint accuracy. Despite this capability, the MOP has never been used in combat, while the MOAB made headlines when it was dropped in Afghanistan in 2017 against ISIS-K fighters hiding in caves. Military leaders have praised the thinking behind these weapons. Retired Air Force General T. Michael "Buzz" Mosley once explained that using the Moab in Afghanistan was a brilliant move given the target. According to him, commanders spend enormous amounts of time weighing the risks of collateral damage and blast effects. The Moab, despite its size, was chosen carefully because it was the right tool for the job, massive enough to collapse tunnel systems, but deployed in a way that limited unnecessary destruction. For military enthusiasts, both the Moab and MOP represent the extremes of conventional warfare. The Moab is a psychological weapon as much as it is a physical one. Its detonation shakes not just the ground, but also the confidence of anyone on the receiving end. The MOP, by contrast, is a symbol of precision and stealth, designed to remind adversaries that even the deepest bunker is not beyond America's reach. When the Air Force dropped the mother of all bombs in Afghanistan, many people immediately wondered about the price tag of such a massive weapon. Surprisingly, the cost of one Moab is far lower than most advanced missiles. According to the Air Force, each bomb is valued at around $170,000. For a weapon weighing more than 21,000 pounds and unleashing the force of 11 tons of TNT, that figure sounds almost like a bargain. But there is a catch. That price is not a modern production cost, it is a historical estimate from the mid-2000s. A defense official later explained that this figure was never the result of a traditional procurement program. Instead, it came from rough calculations made by an expert at the Air Force Research Laboratory, one of the original developers of the weapon. Much of the Moab's cost was based on spare materials that were already available, such as the bomb's casing and metals. In short, it was pieced together from what the Air Force had on hand, not manufactured through a large-scale contract. Because of this, the Moab does not have a standard price in Pentagon budget documents. Unlike fighter jets or precision missiles, it was not part of a typical research, development, and acquisition pipeline. Air Force spokeswoman Erica Yepsen once clarified that the bombs were developed, built, and tested entirely in-house. No outside research was contracted, and that meant no official procurement cost was logged in the usual way. Still, the Moab did involve some outside expertise. One of the most crucial parts of the weapon is its grid fin technology, which allows the bomb to steer itself with surprising accuracy. These lattice-style fins can guide the bomb to within less than 8 meters of its intended target, remarkable for a weapon of its size. The Pentagon brought in Dynetics Incorporated, a Huntsville, Alabama-based defense company, to help design this feature. According to a 2014 report submitted to the Senate Appropriations Committee, the Air Force first approached Dynetics in 2002 with a contract worth $35,000 to begin developing the fin concept. That relatively small investment led to one of the most important innovations. The grid fins gave the bomb the ability to maneuver through the air, ensuring that when it was released from a cargo plane, it would not simply fall blindly, but instead glide and adjust its path toward the target. Dynetics has remained tight-lipped about its role in the project. When asked about the fins, a company spokeswoman declined to comment and referred all questions to U.S. Central Command. Even Air Force officials admitted they were not entirely certain whether the estimated per-bomb cost included the fin technology or not. This uncertainty reflects how unusual the Moab program truly was. Less a polished acquisition effort and more a one-off project designed for a specific wartime need. Another mystery surrounding the Moab is how many of them exist. Officials have never released the exact figure, but reports suggest there are around 15 bombs in the current stockpile. Their exact locations, of course, remain classified. An auditor could attempt to assign a more precise value to each bomb in storage today, factoring in materials, labor, and upgrades. But the Air Force has kept those details under wraps. For military enthusiasts, this backstory highlights what makes the Moab so fascinating. It is not just its raw explosive power that makes it legendary, but also its origin as a kind of Frankenstein weapon built from spare parts, innovative fin technology, and rapid in-house development. It was designed for a very specific mission in Afghanistan, to collapse caves and strike fear into America's enemies. And it did exactly that. Its relatively low cost and unusual history only add to the mystique of the mother of all bombs. But despite its dramatic first use, there were many questions about whether the Moab would be used often in future conflicts. One issue was cost. The bomb is estimated to cost about $170,000 each. While this is not as expensive as some advanced missiles, experts pointed out that other weapons could deliver similar or even greater explosive force. For example, a single B-52 bomber can carry a payload of bombs that together equal or exceed the power of one Moab. Another problem was supply. The Air Force has only a limited number of these bombs. They were built in the early 2000s using spare parts and assembled specifically for the war in Afghanistan. Because of this, The U.S. cannot easily replace them if the stockpile is used up. This means commanders will likely save them for only very special missions. Cost may have also been a factor. Unlike the Moab, which was developed cheaply and in small numbers, the MOP program required significant investment. Harrison explained that between 2009 and 2017, the Air Force budgeted more than $572 million in research and development funding, plus $43 million in procurement for 28 bombs. That works out to more than $21 million per bomb, a staggering difference when compared to the Moab's estimated $170,000 cost. But in the fight against drug cartels, a question now arises. What happens when the mother of all bombs is added to the battlefield? Many wonder if the cartels can truly stand against a weapon of this scale. The U.S. military's choice to use such a massive bomb wasn't random. Timing played a major role, according to retired General T. Michael Mosley. He explained that the decision may have come down to the situation on the ground when all conditions were finally ready for the Moab to make the biggest impact. In other words, it wasn't just about having the weapon, but about finding the perfect moment to use it. He suggested the military might have seen an easy match, the right location, the right enemy concentration, and the right time. Still, many asked why the Moab was chosen instead of other heavy options, like the B-52 Stratofortress. The B-52 can carry more than 50 bombs, each weighing 750 pounds, and when unleashed together, their destruction is comparable to the Moab's single massive strike. Jeffrey Lewis, a professor at Middlebury College who follows arms control issues, pointed out that the B-52 could have delivered a similar level of damage while offering flexibility. So why gamble everything on one giant weapon? The Air Force's answer was simple. Officials insisted that they have many munitions at their disposal, and each one is chosen based on the target. Anne Stefanik, an Air Force spokeswoman, explained that it isn't about showing off the biggest bomb, but about using the right tool at the right time. For the caves and underground drug labs hidden deep within cartel territory, the Moab seemed to be the ideal choice. Its blast penetrates deep into the earth, collapsing tunnels and wiping out hidden operations that smaller bombs might miss. This move also sent a psychological message. For the U.S., dropping the Moab would not be just about destroying a target. It was about showing cartels and the world that America has weapons they cannot possibly match. The nickname alone, Mother of All Bombs, creates an image of unstoppable force, spreading fear even before it detonates. It tells enemies that no place is truly safe, not even underground. The U.S. military has long believed that overwhelming power can break the spirit of its opponents, and the Moab fit that belief perfectly. Yet the debate continues. Is it necessary to use such a weapon on cartel strongholds, or is it more about making a statement? Critics argue that smaller, more precise strikes could have done the job without the massive display. Supporters counter that the Moab would not only destroy the target, but also send a clear message that future cartel expansions into underground networks would not survive. Either way, such a strike would reveal just how far the U.S. is willing to go in the war on drugs. For the cartels, the challenge is now clear. They have long relied on secrecy, tunnels, and hidden labs to protect their empire. But with the Moab in play, those defenses seem fragile. No bunker is too deep, no tunnel too safe, when a weapon designed for military warfare comes crashing down on them. The real question is whether cartels can adapt quickly enough, or if this marks the beginning of a new phase where their underground world is no longer untouchable. Deep in Venezuela, cartels like Tren de Aragua and the Cartel of the Suns have thrived in the shadows, guarded by power and corruption. Their operations stretch across borders, moving drugs and money with ruthless efficiency. But when America's B-2 Spirit takes flight, the equation changes. Nearly invisible to radar, the stealth bomber carries the mother of all bombs, built to erase strongholds in seconds. What follows changed the rules of engagement in the hemisphere. Everyone talks about Mexican cartels, the Gulf Cartel, Los Metros, Los Rojos, Sinaloa, Los Chapitos, La Melliza, and of course the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG. Their names dominate the headlines. Their battles spill across Mexico's streets, and their reach extends deep into the United States. But while the world fixates on Mexico, There's another front in the narco wars that hardly ever makes the news: Venezuela. Venezuela is home to some of the most dangerous and least understood cartels in the hemisphere. Chief among them is Tren de Aragua, the country's most powerful homegrown criminal syndicate. Born in Venezuela's prison system, the group has transformed from a local gang into a multinational criminal enterprise. Human trafficking, extortion, kidnapping, and large-scale drug smuggling are just the beginning. Tren de Aragua has successfully projected its power abroad, spreading tentacles into Colombia, Peru, Chile, and even as far as Spain. And then there's the shadowy network known as the Cartel of the Suns. Unlike Tren de Aragua, this isn't a ragtag army of street enforcers or prison-born killers. The Cartel of the Suns is something far more dangerous. A drug trafficking organization composed of high-ranking Venezuelan officials with deep ties to the military and intelligence services. Its name comes from the sun-shaped insignia worn by Venezuelan generals, many of whom are implicated in running cocaine routes in partnership with Colombian cartels and even foreign terrorist organizations. Investigations over the years have linked its operations to none other than Nicolas Maduro himself, the sitting president of Venezuela. Together, Tren de Aragua and the Cartel of the Suns form a 1-2 punch unlike anything else in Latin America. One cartel rules the streets with brutal violence, while the other enjoys state-level protection and resources. That combination has allowed Venezuela to evolve into a key hub for cocaine trafficking, rivaling even Colombia. But here's where things get even more explosive. Recently, these Venezuelan cartels have been formally designated as international terrorist organizations. This isn't just a label, it changes the entire game. When a group is listed as a terrorist entity, the United States can treat them the same way it treats ISIS or Al-Qaeda. That means not just sanctions and indictments, but military force. Airstrikes, raids, and covert operations all become options on the table. For years, Washington has accused Maduro's government of turning Venezuela into a narco state, but diplomatic constraints kept the response limited to economic measures and covert interdictions at sea. Now, with the terrorist designation, the gloves are off. These cartels are no longer seen as just criminal enterprises. They are treated as threats to U.S. national security, which brings us to the operation you're about to see unfold. Venezuela is about to learn what it means to face the B-2 Spirit, America's stealth bomber, a weapon so advanced that even calling it an aircraft doesn't quite do it justice. To the untrained eye, the B-2 looks almost alien, a flying wing with no tail, no vertical stabilizers, and barely a silhouette against the night sky. To radar operators on the ground, it looks like nothing at all. Nicknamed the Beast, the B-2 was built for one purpose: to slip through the most heavily defended airspace on Earth and strike without warning. Its radar-absorbent skin and low observable profile make it virtually invisible to traditional detection systems. Even infrared tracking struggles because the B-2's engines are buried deep inside the fuselage, masking heat signatures and reducing the thermal trail it leaves in the sky. If you think you can find it by pointing sensors into the heavens, you're already too late. And when it arrives with surgical precision. The B-2 Spirit can carry more than 40,000 pounds of ordnance hidden within its internal bays. From GBU-31J dams, GPS-guided bombs, to the massive GBU-57 bunker busters designed to penetrate fortified structures, the aircraft is capable of dismantling an entire drug complex in seconds. This is why the B-2 Spirit is most suitable for the Venezuelan mission. No other aircraft in the arsenal can deliver such power with such discretion. The journey alone is a feat of endurance. From Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri, the B-2s launch under the cover of darkness. These aren't short-range sorties. With a maximum range of 11,000 kilometers before refueling, the Spirit is built for global missions. But even so, a Venezuelan strike requires mid-air tankers at carefully chosen points. High above the Atlantic, in a silent rendezvous, KC-135 Stratotankers extend the wings of the beast, topping off its fuel for the long flight south. Inside the cockpit, just 2 crew members control this Leviathan. Sitting side by side, they rely on advanced digital displays and fly-by-wire controls to navigate one of the most sophisticated aircraft ever built. The workload is immense, long hours over open ocean, constant radio silence, every move rehearsed to perfection. Missions like this demand more than skill. They demand stamina, discipline, and the ability to function inside a pressure cooker. As they close in on Venezuelan airspace, the Spirit descends to low altitude, hugging terrain with advanced navigation systems that allow it to fly covertly just above the ground. Venezuelan radar operators, already stretched thin, scan their scopes for any sign of intruders. They find nothing. The beast is already inside. The target, a cartel-run drug production facility nestled deep in the Venezuelan interior, guarded by foot soldiers and protected under the silent watch of the Cartel of the Suns. Intelligence suggests the lab is pushing thousands of kilos of cocaine onto international routes every month. The strike isn't just symbolic. It aimed to cripple a vital artery of the cartel's empire. The Spirit lines up for release. Bomb bay doors open silently against the rush of air. At that moment, Venezuela's most secretive cartel stronghold has no idea that the end is already falling from the sky. With pinpoint GPS guidance, 2 JDMs detach, plummeting through the night before hitting their mark with surgical accuracy. The earth shakes. Fireball after fireball tore through concrete and steel. In less than a minute, what had taken years to build would be reduced to rubble and flame. By the time Venezuelan air defenses scrambled to respond, the beast would already be vanishing back into the night, undetectable, untouchable, and gone. Only the wreckage left behind testifies to its presence. Each B-2 Spirit cost nearly $2 billion, making it one of the most expensive machines ever built. Maintaining it requires another $20 million annually, with teams of engineers dedicated to keeping its stealth skin pristine. It is not a tool used lightly, but when it flies, it carries with it a message. No fortress, no cartel, no narco state is beyond America's reach. This isn't just imagination. It echoes a precedent already carved deep beneath the mountains of Iran at Fordo. Codenamed Operation Midnight Hammer, the strike reads like a story made of steel, night, and careful plans. It was a top-secret precision attack on Iran's nuclear facilities that began overnight. Officials said it was the largest strike using B-2 bombers in history and the longest flight involving the fleet since 2001. The mission moved in silence, with many parts working together so the whole would come down like a single, precise hammer blow. The size of the mission is hard to imagine at first. More than 125 aircraft took part. That number alone makes the event feel huge. The cast included 7 B-2 Spirit stealth bombers that flew from the continental United States shortly after midnight Eastern Time. Those B-2s were refueled multiple times in midair as they flew for 18 hours to reach their targets. Other planes had roles you might not see at first. B-2s used as decoys to draw attention one way, while the real bombers went another. Refueling tankers that kept the long flight alive, fighter escorts that watched for threats, and drones that gave intelligence, surveillance, and target acquisition. Each part was small on its own, but together they made the mission possible. At the center of the attack were the bombs called Massive Ordnance Penetrators, known as MOPs. The mission included the first use of these bombs in combat. Before this, they had only been used in testing. Saying first use carries weight. A weapon moves from the lab into real life. That is a large step. Each MOP measures about 20 feet long, weighs 30,000 pounds, and is capable of penetrating 200 feet deep inside a target before exploding. Those numbers tell a story without need for many extra words. Think of a 20-foot object, longer than a small bus. Think of 30,000 pounds, a weight that belongs to a heavy truck or a small building's worth of material. And think of 200 feet of penetration, deep enough to go through many layers of earth or concrete and reach far inside an underground space. In simple, vivid terms, a MOP is a very long, very heavy tool built to punch through layers that most bombs simply cannot reach. It is not a device meant for a flash in the sky. It is a device made to go down, down, and strike what hides below. Just after 2 a.m. Iran time, the B-2 bombers began dropping 14 MOP bombs in strikes on 2 of Iran's nuclear facilities, the Natanz and Fordo sites. That moment must have felt like the snap of a giant hinge being forced open. In total, 13 B-2 bombers took off around the same time on Saturday morning from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri, according to Kane. Of those, 6 B-2s were sent to the Pacific island of Guam as decoys. The other 7, the ones that carried out the strikes, quietly headed east. Those 7 kept little communication to avoid detection. Silence was part of their armor. The human picture is as large as the hardware. Crews flew for many hours, refueling more than once. Planners set up decoys and routes. Pilots and support teams took part in what is, in truth, a long chain of careful choices. Every refueling in midair, every radio silence, and every decoy flight was a link in a chain. Break one link and the mission could change. In the press room at the Pentagon after the attacks, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth spoke in clear, hard words. "Iran's nuclear ambitions have been obliterated," he said during a press briefing. That kind of language is absolute and final sounding. It is meant to show that the action had a single, clear aim, and that goal, according to the words given, was reached. And yet the mission's neat lines, craft, bombs, timing, and words also point to the strange mix of modern war. High technology paired with long human hours, prayer-like patience before a strike, and a sudden heavy action in the dark. A bomber that uses stealth seeks to be unseen. A MOP seeks to be unstoppable once it is on a path downward. The mission mixed both stealth and force, the B-2s to slip in unseen, and the MOPs to go deep and smash what was buried. The timing mattered. The B-2s left shortly after midnight Eastern Time. They flew for 18 hours. The bombs fell just after 2 a.m., Iran time. Those hours are lives of their own. The long hum of engines, the quiet work of crews, the dark stretch of a globe passed over. For the people on the ground near the targets, the strikes were a matter of moments. Just before the bombers let loose their loads, 24 submarine-fired cruise missiles were launched toward a third nuclear site inside the country. Those missiles rode low and slow across the water and sky. They were fired first, but because they fly more slowly and had a long trip to make, they did not hit until a little after the heavy bombs from the long-range stealth planes had already fallen. That timing, missiles launched from beneath the waves, then heavy bombers passing overhead, mattered. It was not a random flare of violence. It was a layered strike, a plan of pieces meant to work in order. The submarine shot its missiles to help shape the fight on the ground. The big stealthy bombers carried the largest weapons. Both kinds of weapons moved toward the same kind of target. Hardened, buried facilities built to survive ordinary attacks. The result was a hard hammer of different tools hitting one goal from different angles. On the morning after the strikes, people watched for the machines to return. All 13 of the stealth bombers that had moved in the operation were expected back at their base in Missouri early Sunday afternoon. But not all the planes took the same path. 6 of them had been sent as decoys toward a Pacific island, a move meant to draw eyes the wrong way while the real strike group crept east. Whether those decoys ever touched down on that distant island was not clear. The 7 that carried out the strikes, the ones that flew quietly east and kept radio silence to avoid detection, were the ones that dropped the heaviest bombs. The president spoke to the nation later that night from the White House. He stood with senior leaders behind him and spoke in a voice that meant to close a chapter. A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime, he said. He named the aim, plainly, to destroy the country's ability to enrich uranium and to stop what he called a looming nuclear threat. He declared the strikes a spectacular military success and said the facilities had been completely and totally obliterated. The speech was sharp and simple. It told a story of final, crushing force. Those words were meant to show certainty, but people who watch these things closely know that certainty after a strike is a process, not a single sentence. Officials on the scene said the initial read from the field was that the guided weapons had hit the places they were meant to hit and had the effect the planners wanted. Yet a full picture of damage, especially to underground hardened facilities, takes time. Experts must look at before and after images, signals, and when possible, on-the-ground checks. The immediate claim of destruction is a strong one. The full truth of what was broken or left standing will be known only after patient work. Officials also stressed the careful edge of the plan. They said the operation had been the product of long weeks and months of positioning and preparation so that everything would be in place when the order came. The plan used misdirection, secrecy, and what was called the highest level of operational security. Few people in the Capitol were told the timing or details. Congressional leaders reportedly learned that the mission had begun only after it was underway. The strike force moved with a small crew in each bomber, 2 people per plane, and those crews flew in and out without detection, according to commanders. Stealth and silence were the armor of the night. One striking note in the day's account was the near lack of response. The defenders on the ground did not launch fighters or surface-to-air missiles as the strike unfolded. Prior to the attack, Allied strikes had reportedly spent days degrading the country's air defense systems, destroying much of the fighter fleet and leaving airfields badly damaged. Those earlier blows did not come from the main strike force that night, but they shaped the battlefield by limiting the target's options. With the sky made quieter by those losses, the bomber crews found fewer threats to dodge and fewer alarms to set off. Commanders emphasized that the mission was aimed at nuclear capability, not at civilians or a change of government. They said no troops or civilian structures were targeted. The message, officials said, was intended to be surgical. Remove the means of a bomb while leaving the larger political map in place. At the same time, leaders said that public and private channels were being used to offer the country a chance to come to the table and negotiate afterward. In other words, the strike was meant to be a hard stop, not an all-out attempt to remake a country. The night's pace also showed how modern war moves beyond the single strike. A submarine beneath the waves launched missiles. Stealth bombers flew long, refueled many times, and dropped heavy ordnance designed for deep buried targets. Fighters and tankers circled to shield and sustain the mission. Drones watched and fed eyes to those in the sky. Each piece had a job, and each job fit into a chain. Break the chain, and the plan could fail. Troops in the wider region were left in a tense state. Some units were not warned in advance of the attacks. Commanders elevated protection measures across the area, especially at key bases and in nearby states. When a strike this large lands, the ripple of worry and the need for protection spread fast. Forces on the ground prepare for possible reprisals, for accidents, and for the hard work of keeping people and systems safe while leaders sort through the political fallout. Finally, the night reminded everyone that in modern conflict, the line between war and politics grows thin. A president's words, a commander's plan, the silent run of a submarine, and the hush of a bomber's radio all meet in a tight, sharp window. The words used afterward, of obliteration, of prevention, of no intent to change a regime, become part of a story told to the world. Yet that story is not the whole truth. It is a version chosen for now. The quiet after the storm is not empty. Assessments will continue. Images will be analyzed. Leaders will watch for reaction. And the people who live near the broken sites will begin to count the cost. For a few hours on one long night, a vast set of machines and plans converge to strike deep and hard. The immediate act is done. The consequences are only just beginning to unfold. Now, in preparation for a possible attack, the Venezuelan government announced that more than 4.5 million militia members would be prepared, activated, and armed to patrol the streets from north to south, east to west. Imagine lines of civilians turned into fighters, neighborhood watch groups flipped into armed units, and whole cities threaded with checkpoints. The plan calls these forces peace squadrons and ties them together with police and military units to guard the capital and patrol local blocks. The promise, nobody will ever touch the nation. The reality, a society rehearsing for conflict. The announcement came after reports that naval warships, including guided missile destroyers, have taken positions near the country's waters and that thousands of foreign troops have been moved into the region. In Washington, leaders have been pressing a campaign to choke off drug trafficking, and they have raised the reward for information leading to the arrest of the country's leader, doubling the bounty to $50 million. At the same time, authorities say they seized more than $700 million in assets tied to the leader's inner circle, private jets, vehicles, and other property. The message from outside was clear. Pressure on the regime would grow, with money, law, and military presence all in play. These events are being spun in stark terms on both sides. The government in the capital called the moves provocative and hostile. It answered by activating the militia and arming local patrols. The leadership's language has been blunt and theatrical. Militia members, prepared, activated, and armed, will march through cities, squadrons will guard neighborhoods, and the entire country will be organized into defensive quadrants. The rhetoric is meant to reassure supporters and to show that the state can mobilize most of its people at a moment's notice. Why such a heavy turn toward arms? The official line from the other side frames it as a law and order operation. Washington says it is going after drug traffickers who move narcotics into the United States and has accused the government of ties to major drug networks. The punishment has taken the form of asset seizures, sanctions, and the large reward for capture. The stated aim to cut down the flow of drugs and to deny those accused of trafficking their safe havens and money. But the posture goes beyond courts and dollars. Tariffs and economic penalties are being used to squeeze outside buyers of the nation's oil and gas. Military assets have been moved into the neighborhood, and a large bounty now hangs like a prize over the leader's head. The combination, law enforcement, economic pain, and ships at sea, reads to many like a pressure campaign that could become a pressure cooker. Inside the country, the politics are raw. The government says it is under attack and that all defenses must be set in motion. It accuses foreign powers of waging a campaign to delegitimize and topple the regime. Outside critics point to a history of disputed elections, a collapsing economy, and a ruling circle accused of enrichment and criminal ties. The Capitol has not had formal relations with the White House since 2019, and the current bitter standoff has only hardened both sides' view of the other. That deep distrust makes talks harder and threats more dangerous. What does mobilizing 4.5 million people look like on the ground? Picture street corners turned into watch posts, volunteers patrolling with radios and sometimes with weapons, local committees working with the police to keep patrols covered. The peace squadrons promise a mix of forces, police, military, and community groups that will patrol together. In theory, such a mix could help maintain order. In practice, arming so many people risks more violence, more checkpoints, and more friction with neighbors and travelers. Where there are arms and tension, small clashes can spin into bigger incidents. For the wider region, the risk of misstep is real. When ships mass, bounties fly, and governments arm citizens, the chance of a small incident sparking a larger fight grows. A mistaken radar contact, a firefight at a checkpoint, or even an accident at sea can become the spark that sets off wider clashes. Neighbors watch nervously, traders pause, migrant flows may rise again, and the political temperature in capitals around the world spikes as leaders ask, will the crisis move from bluster to an actual military clash? Questions also swirl about the long-term effect of the pressure campaign. Will the stepped-up legal and economic actions push the leadership to change course? Or will they deepen the regime's survival instincts, leading to more repression at home and more alliances with shadowy smuggling networks abroad? When a government is cornered, some rulers harden and cling to power more fiercely. Others make concessions. Which path unfolds depends on a tangle of incentives: the elite's calculations, the army's loyalties, the public's patience, and the reach of outside pressure. Then there is the strange theater of rewards and seizures. A bounty, now at $50 million, turns a political fight into a public hunt. It signals determination and offers a concrete grab for those seeking to turn information into cash. Asset seizures strip financial support and can choke off the means to buy loyalty. But such moves also reverberate through ordinary life. When planes, homes, and bank accounts vanish, businesses pause and people feel the squeeze. Economic pain often hits the poor hardest, even when the stated target is an elite inner circle. Public messaging pushes both sides into simple stories. The government says it is defending sovereignty and resisting a foreign plot. The other side says it is fighting a crime that reaches far beyond borders, using a toolkit of law, money, and military posture. Each narrative finds its audience, and each hardened tale makes compromise harder. In the space between these narratives live millions of people who mostly want safe streets, steady work, and enough food on the table. The US has created a bomber with capabilities that the world would never recover from, the B-21 Raider. This strategic bomber is not just a game changer, it has single-handedly redefined military strategies, making other nations alarmed. With its stealthy features, its unrefined lethality, and next-generation designs, this bomber made other technologically advanced nations like China and Russia terrified. Why is the world afraid of this strategic bomber? What makes this bomber different and better than China's giant H-20 bomber? Join us as we unravel the mysteries behind the American first B-21 Raider that the whole world is afraid of. With a huge investment of $630 million, 7 years of undivided devotion towards creating a masterpiece, and over 25 years of dominance, the United States strategic bomber has sent chills to the heart of its adversaries. The B-20 Raider is one of a kind, and that's not all. It is designed with features that makes it unrivaled. Not even China's new Xi'an H-20 bomber can be compared to this technological marvel. Or can it? Let's get into their specifications. The B-21 Raider is a new bomber being made for the United States Air Force. This bomber was part of a program called Long Range Strike Bomber, with the aim to develop a strategic bomber with next-generation features that would replace the old bombers. It is designed with the ability to fly long distances for a long period of time and stay hidden from enemies. Stealthy features. It can also carry different types of weapons, including powerful ones like nuclear bombs or just regular bombs. The Raider marks a significant advancement in aircraft technology, being the world's first sixth-generation bomber, which is similar to the sixth-generation NGAD fighter, which is currently under development. The program began in 2011, and it started a fierce competition among aerospace giants Boeing, Lockheed Martin team, and Northrop Grumman. After 4 years of intense competition, Northrop Grumman, leveraging its extensive experience with stealth bombers from the B-2, secured the contract to develop the B-21. Their proposal stood out for offering the most cost-effective solution while meeting the Air Force's requirements. Cost considerations also played a very important role in the development of this bomber, which is a lesson learned from the exorbitant expenses associated with the B-2 program. The cost per unit aircraft of the B-2 was so high that it rivaled the GDPs of some nations. Therefore, ensuring cost efficiency while delivering the desired capabilities was a priority in the development of the B-21 Raider. To be more economical in the process of building it, Northrop Grumman had to eventually team up with about 400 suppliers across 40 states, all operating continuously for the past 7 years, even during the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. These suppliers are 7 of the world's most reputable companies as Tier 1 suppliers of the program, like jet engine manufacturer Pratt & Whitney, the largest defense contractor in Europe, BAE Systems, the world's largest first-tier aerostructures manufacturer, Spirit Aerosystems, Northrop Grumman's Orbital ATK, Rockwell Collins, GKN Aerospace, and Janicki Industries. All these companies, led by Northrop Grumman, worked together to create the B-21, a bomber that costs $630 million and that boasts next-generation capabilities. Compared to the B-2, the B-21 Raider is about 68% cheaper while being much more capable than the previously developed and even more expensive strategic bomber. Even though it benefits from over 2 decades of technological advancements, it's still an impressive military aircraft, deadly in its capabilities. The Air Force plans to get at least 100 B-21s, but they might go up to weigh 145 if the bomber passes its test without any hitch, almost literally. When it's put into service, the bomber will work alongside other strategic bombers like the B-52 Stratofortress, the B-1 Lancer, and the B-2 Spirit initially. Eventually, it will replace both of them, marking the end of their era or perhaps its continuation in a different form. In any case, the U.S. will have a bomber that can demonstrate the strength of its military across the globe, with the operational range of a ship and the firepower of modern nuclear weapons. The development of this strategic bomber with unrivaled capabilities has deeply troubled China, the United States being their #1 rival. Their next move in the bomber race might involve their new Xi'an H-20 bomber. and they're probably aware of the challenge that it would take in developing one. Interestingly, the news of the development of China's strategic bomber became public around the same time as those of the United States. However, to understand how capable the H-20 is, and if it can in any way be compared to the B-21, these bombers would need to compete directly by comparing the three most important factors in any bomber: stealth, avionics, and armament. Similar to its predecessor, especially the B-51, the B-21 will most definitely be designed from the start to be a stealthy plane, using what they have learned from the process of making the hard-to spot. It will have special features like edges that line up, panels on the skin that look like jagged teeth, and the engines will be hidden with special matte skin. Its shape will be like a big wing, which helps make it hard to detect by radar. Just like the B-2, it will probably be painted with a special paint that makes it hard to see during the day and avoid being spotted. Its underside will be painted dark because it flies really high, over 50,000 feet up. When it's that high, a dark color makes it blend in with the sky better. The B-21 will also have a sensor that looks up at the sky and tells the pilot to go higher or lower to match the brightness of the sky, so it's always hard to spot. To keep these stealth features working well, the B-21 might need to be kept in special hangars that have air conditioning, and that would definitely cost a lot of money to build and maintain. To make it better than previously developed bombers, it will have lots of new and high-tech avionics systems all working together. These include things like a special radar that can do many things, a digital navigation system that uses radar and GPS to help the plane fly, and a system that uses space objects to help figure out where it is. It also has a radar that can scan in different directions, a system to jam enemy communications, and cameras and sensors to spot targets. Communication is very important, and the B-21 prioritized this. This new strategic bomber can talk to other planes and ground forces using special links, and it has a system that warns the crew about dangers and can change its route to avoid them. The importance of this feature cannot be overstated because not only does it help to keep the pilot aware of his environment and potential threats, it makes it possible to avert danger, keeping both the pilot and the aircraft safe from any sort of damage. Also, for the military, this system makes the bomber really important because it's like a central hub for getting and sharing information, making it better at managing battles. To make sure everything is working okay, there's a system that checks all the avionics all the time. Now to its carrying capacity, like the aircraft before it, the B-21 should be able to carry more than 30,000 pounds of weapons, including nuclear bombs like the B-61 and long-range missiles. It can also carry regular bombs and other modern weapons, like missiles that can hit ships from far away. This makes it perfect for fighting ships in places like the South China Sea. Unfortunately for aviation lovers and people rooting for the Raider, several information concerning this bomber has been kept secret because it's a special program and also for security purposes. Details regarding how far it goes, what kind of weapons it carries, or how big it is compared to its predecessor have been undisclosed. However, some photos of the aircraft were released in December 2022 during a ceremony at Northrop Grumman's factory in California, and observers with keen eyes were able to spot a thing or two, but these are just speculations. The Raider will be maintained at Tinker Air Force Base in Oklahoma, while testing and evaluation will happen at Edwards Air Force Base in California. It will fly from bases like Dyess Air Force Base in Texas, Ellsworth Air Force Base in South Dakota, and Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. Ellsworth was chosen to be the first base for the B-21. There was talk about using a drone alongside the B-21, but that idea was dropped because the idea was to save money, and that thought would not help with the cause. The Air Force is also planning to get a new fighter jet to protect the new bomber during missions into enemy territory. The Air Force wants to update its bomber fleet and most of its nuclear weapons for operations in the Indo-Pacific, especially concerning China. Now let's talk a bit about the B-21's predecessors, the Stratofortress. The B-52 was a lot like the B-47 Stratojet bomber that came before it in terms of technology. They both had similar designs like wings that angled back and engines in pods. The inside of the plane also had seats that could eject if there was an emergency. In the B-52D, the pilots and the person in charge of electronic countermeasures would eject upwards, while the crew below would eject downwards. In earlier B-52 models, the person who operated the tail gun had to get rid of the gun before ejecting. In the first B-52s, the tail gunner sat at the back of the plane and used both visual and radar systems to aim the gun. In later models, the tail gunner moved to the front of the plane, and they only used radar to aim, similar to how the B-58 Hustler's tail gun worked. Because of how this bomber is meant to fly, it doesn't need to do big turns or recover from spins. It has a small rudder that can only turn the plane a little bit to the side. They originally planned to use a different kind of tail that moves all the way, but they changed their minds because they weren't sure if it would work well. Since the plane has 8 engines, if one of them stops working, it won't cause too much of a problem because the rudder can fix it. To help the aircraft land and take off when it's windy, the main landing gear can move to the side a bit. Before the plane takes off, the crew sets this up based on how windy it is. The part of the plane that controls going up and down is also small, like the rudder, so it can't move the plane a lot. To help with small changes, there's a part at the back called a stabilizer that moves up and down a little when taking off and landing, because the flaps on the wings make big changes in how the plane tilts. The B-21 would be built in such a way that it would experience no limitations in the way it flies. Also, the B-52s before the G models had small things on the wings called ailerons that helped it turn. Because the wings are thin, they can't use regular ailerons, so they used something called spoilerons instead. These were better for controlling the plane, especially when it was being refueled in the air. But the later models got rid of the ailerons and just used more spoilerons. Because of this change, those models could wobble more when flying. This bomber got upgraded in the 1970s, and these upgrades enabled it to carry up to 20 nuclear missiles and air-launched cruise missiles. They chose the Boeing AGM-86B missile for it, fitting 194 planes to carry them, and some planes had a special launcher for them. They also made some changes to the planes so satellites could recognize them easily. If the B-52 is this heavily armed and can carry that much nuclear weapons, just imagine how formidable the new B-21 Raider would be. Later, they made more changes to the Stratofortress that were not designed to carry missiles to make them better at dropping regular bombs. They also added new systems to manage bombs and made pylons under the wings to carry bigger bombs. Some planes were even fitted to carry anti-ship missiles and other special bombs. In 2016, Boeing started updating them so that they can carry smart bombs inside the plane instead of just on the wings. Even though the B-1 bomber can carry more weight than the B-52, it rarely carries its full load. Its biggest load is the AGM-86B missiles, while the B-1 can carry more types of bombs, but fewer of each. Despite the plan to replace the Stratofortress in the future, the bomber will get new hypersonic missiles and nuclear-armed cruise missiles, making it more formidable and somewhat irreplaceable. This means that if the B-21 would definitely be a beast, a force to reckon with. In terms of propelling system, the B-52 bomber has 8 engines arranged in pods and held up by 4 pylons under the wings. These pylons also help the wings fly better. The first prototypes used experimental Pratt & Whitney YJ57P3 turbojet engines. The early B-52 LH models had Pratt & Whitney J57P1W turbojets with 10,000 pounds of thrust, which could go up to 11,000 pounds with water injection. Water for this was stored in a tank in the back of the plane. One thing is certain, the engine for the B-21 Raider would definitely be from the jet engine manufacturer Pratt & Whitney. Let's check out the Raider's competitor, China's Xi'an H-20. The H-20, also known as Hong-2, is a planned stealth bomber that is being designed for China's Air Force. It is a big project for the Chinese military because this would be their first bomber that is designed specifically for strategic purposes. This technologically advanced nation announced plans for this bomber in September 2016 by a Chinese Air Force general, Ma Xiaoshen, who disclosed to the public that China was working on a new long-range bomber. To help the public keep tabs of the development process, a military spokesperson confirmed that the development was going well. According to the U.S. Department of Defense, the H-20 will likely be a flying wing with a range of at least 8,500 kilometers and can carry at least 10 tons of weapons. This could pose a threat to United States military bases in Guam and Hawaii. The plane is expected to carry either conventional or nuclear weapons. Over the years, various models and computer images of the H-2 have appeared online, showing features like serrated air intakes and special tail services. Chinese state media hinted that this bomber might have its first flight soon in July 2022. The H-20, a Chinese bomber, is expected to carry at least 22,000 pounds of weapons, which could threaten U.S. targets as far as Hawaii. We don't know much about the H-20 yet because it's a secret, but based on what we know, the B-21 has an advantage. In March 2024, a vice commander of the Chinese Air Force mentioned that the H-20 would be revealed very soon during a National Congress session. While many design and performance details are unknown, China's subsonic bomber will have an estimated operational range between 5,000 and 6,000 nautical miles, or 8,500 to 10,000 kilometers. The aircraft is aimed at bombing missions in the second island chain and in the Western Pacific. With in-flight refueling capability, its range could be increased well beyond the Pacific region. The aircraft will also be capable of carrying conventional armaments and nuclear munitions in its internal and external bays. While this information is not enough to compare these two bombers, let's have a look at one of China's finest bombers, the Xi'an H-6. The Xi'an H-6 is a bomber aircraft used by the Chinese Air Force. It's based on a Russian plane called the Tupolev Tu-16. China started getting these planes in 1958, and they made a deal with Russia to build them in China. By November 2020, China had as many as 231 of these planes, and they're still making more. The newest version of the H-6 is called the H-6N. It's been changed a lot and can now refuel in the air and carry missiles that can be launched from the air. According to the United States Department of Defense, this will let the Chinese Air Force attack faraway targets with really accurate weapons. The Tupolev Tu-16, first used by the Soviet Union on April 1952, was among their earliest successful jet bombers. Over 1,500 were made by 1962. In the early 1956, the Soviet Union agreed to let China build Tu-16s too. They sent China 2 planes, parts, and materials to get started. Soviet experts helped China start making the planes in 1959. China chose the Harbin and Xi'an factories to build the Tu-16s. They had to make big changes and expansions to the factories. The first Chinese-made Tu-16 was finished in just 67 days in 1959. Then in 1961, they decided to focus on making them in Xi'an instead. The first fully Chinese-made H-6 bomber flew in 1968. But there were problems along the way. The Cultural Revolution caused delays, and they even lost some important plans during that time. The H-6 was used to test 9 nuclear bombs at the Lopner site. But as missile technology got better, the importance of using planes to drop nuclear bombs went down. By 1972, it was mainly used for regular bombing, not nuclear missions. If the H-20 is anything or even better than the H-6, the United States might just have something to worry about. Imagine a weapon so advanced and precise that it can level an entire military base with just one strike, leaving nothing but destruction in its wake. Recently, the U.S. Air Force's B-2 stealth bomber did just that, wiping out a crucial Houthi base in a mission that sent shockwaves around the world. But what led to this dramatic strike? What does this mean for the future of U.S. military engagement in the region? And how will the Houthis respond to such a devastating blow? Join us as we explore the extraordinary power of the U.S. B-2 bomber and how the bomber just wiped a Houthi base off the map. On the night of March 29, 2025, a squad of B-2 Spirit stealth bombers quietly took off under the cover of darkness and made a straight shot toward the Middle East. These flying wings aren't just any planes, they're some of the most advanced aircraft in the world, designed to sneak past radar like ghosts and carry enough firepower to flatten an entire base. A single B-2 can carry up to 40,000 pounds of bombs, including nuclear weapons if needed. As the bombers soared across the skies, they stopped mid-air to refuel. They could gas up in the sky using a flying tanker. This refueling is crucial, especially when flying long distances like over the Arabian Peninsula. Once they topped off their tanks, the B-2s locked into a special flight path, one that's tightly controlled and monitored. These paths are known as restrictive operating zones, or ROZs, kind of like invisible highways in the sky. They're designed to make sure when bombs are dropped, they don't accidentally land near, or worse, on friendly aircraft. The reason for the need for such precision is that the airspace above Yemen is packed. After recent military operations in the region, it's like air traffic during rush hour in Los Angeles, only with fighter jets instead of cars. You've got U.S. Navy F/A-18 Growlers jamming enemy radars, Air Force F-15s and stealthy F-35 flying combat patrols, long-range B-1 and B-52 bombers in the mix, Marine Corps jets, and even MQ-9 Reaper drones cruising high above. It's a busy, dangerous sky. To avoid any accidents, B-2 bombers stick strictly to their lanes, and everyone else is ordered to steer well clear. One wrong move could lead to a tragic friendly fire incident instead of a successful strike on enemy targets. Luckily, American air traffic controllers, some of the best in the world, work around the clock to coordinate all of these aircraft. They use cutting-edge systems, including real-time satellite feeds and encrypted comms, to deconflict the airspace, which means making sure every plane has its safe bubble to operate in. At around 2 a.m. local time, a sudden wave of powerful airstrikes slammed into the town of Saadette. In just minutes, 10 key targets were turned into plumes of smoke. These weren't just any targets either. We're talking about command centers, high-tech air defense systems, and heavily fortified communications bunkers. While these strikes were lighting up the sky, F-18 fighter jets from the aircraft carrier USS Truman were already in the air, carrying out something clever: decoy attacks using GPS-guided bombs. The goal is to stir up the hornet's nest and force the Houthis to react, exposing their hidden defenses. That's when the real punch came. Flying at a jaw-dropping altitude of 50,000 feet, higher than commercial airliners, a pair of stealthy B-2 Spirit bombers swooped into action. These bombers, which are practically invisible to radar thanks to their shape and radar-absorbing materials, released a barrage of GBU-31J dams. These are 2,000-pound GPS-guided smart bombs that can hit their targets with pinpoint accuracy within just 10 feet. That's like dropping a bomb on a specific parking spot from miles up in the sky. And the choice of weapon wasn't random. These particular targets were built tough, above-ground facilities reinforced with concrete to resist attacks. But that's exactly what the GBU-31 was made for. Its hardened casing is designed to punch straight through concrete before detonating inside, maximizing the damage from within. Even though the Houthis were using Iranian-made GPS jammers to try and throw off incoming weapons, it didn't matter. The J-dams don't just rely on satellite signals. They're also equipped with inertial navigation systems. That means even if GPS is blocked, they can still find their way with internal sensors that track speed, direction, and movement, almost like having a digital compass and gyroscope built into the bomb. The Houthis didn't even see the B-2s coming. These bombers are so stealthy, their radar cross-section is said to be smaller than a bird. Some experts even compare it to the size of a bumblebee on radar. That's why by the time the bombs hit, it was already too late. Originally, the United States built the B-2 Spirit bomber for one chilling reason: to stop a nuclear apocalypse before it could ever begin. This aircraft wasn't just made to drop bombs. It was designed to sneak deep into enemy territory, strike with terrifying power, and vanish before anyone even knew it was there. What makes the B-2 so incredible is its stealthy shape and high-tech engineering. It can slip past the world's most advanced radar systems, glide over enemy lines, drop its deadly cargo, and zip out unnoticed. That's possible thanks to its four mighty General Electric F118GE100 turbofan engines. Each one packs 70,300 pounds of thrust, adding up to a total of 69,200 pounds when they're all fired up. That's more than enough to lift a massive bomber into the sky at speeds nearing 630 miles per hour. Even more impressive, the B-2 can soar up to 50,000 feet, high enough to dodge almost all surface-to-air missiles, including the kinds used by militant groups like the Houthis. At that height, the air is thin, the skies are clear, and very few weapons can touch it. But the real secret sauce isn't just the engines or the altitude. It's the B-2's skin and shape. Its stealth doesn't come from magic. It's science, carefully crafted. The aircraft is coated with special radar-absorbing materials and designed with smooth curves and no sharp angles, which helps deflect radar waves instead of bouncing them back. The B-2's paint has to be reapplied constantly because even dust or raindrops can mess up its stealth abilities. It's so sensitive that crews often spend more time cleaning and fine-tuning it than flying it. The B-2 doesn't have a tail. Most planes do, but tails reflect radar. So engineers gave it a unique flying wing design, making it look like something out of a sci-fi movie and making it nearly invisible to radar. In short, the B-2 Spirit is a flying ghost. Quiet, powerful, and practically untouchable. It's the ultimate example of how science and military design can come together to create something truly unmatched in the skies. When it comes to stealth, one of the most important things is something called radar cross-section, or RCS for short. Think of it as how big something looks on radar. The larger the RCS, the easier it is for enemy radar to spot you and shoot you down. The B-2 Spirit bomber on a mission has an RCS of just 0.1 square meters. That's smaller than a bird. For comparison, an F-15 fighter jet shows up on radar with a signature that's about 250 times bigger. So, how does a giant flying wing like the B-2 hide so well? A big part of its stealth magic lies in its shape. If people ever see a B-2 flying, they will notice it's all smooth, curved edges, no sharp corners or sticking out parts. That design isn't just for looks. It helps radar waves slide off its body at steep angles, sending the radar energy off in the wrong direction. Since radar systems only see something if their waves bounce back, the B-2 can fly straight at a radar, and it still looks like nothing's there. But there's more going on than just clever shaping. The B-2 is also wrapped in a special coating, almost like a high-tech cloak. This outer layer absorbs radar signals rather than reflecting them, kind of like a sponge soaking up water. This radar-absorbing material is so sensitive that ground crews have to wear special shoes when walking on the aircraft, just to avoid damaging the surface. The B-2's stealth isn't just about hiding from radar. It's designed to stay hidden even from infrared sensors that track heat. Its engines are buried deep inside the body, and its exhaust is cooled down before it's released. That makes it incredibly hard to detect, even for satellites looking for heat signatures. And if that's not enough, during missions over hostile territory, like areas with Houthi radar systems, the B-2 is sometimes surrounded by electronic warfare clouds. These can jam or scramble enemy radar, acting like an invisible shield that confuses sensors and blocks tracking systems. When most people see the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber, the first thing they notice is that deep matte black color. Sure, it looks cool, and yes, the black helps it blend in with the night sky, but there's way more going on here than just paint. What makes this aircraft a ghost in the sky is what that paint is made of. The B-2 is coated with a super secret blend of advanced composite materials and something called iron ball paint, and that's where the real magic happens. This iron ball paint isn't just a name. It contains tiny spheres of iron specially engineered to scatter and absorb radar waves. These materials work together to soak up around 80% of incoming radar signals. So even if an enemy radar does manage to get a reading, the return is so faint and distorted, it might as well be a bird, a bug, or even just a glitch in the system. Even countries with top-tier radar systems, like Iran or Russia, could hand over their best tech to a group like the Houthis, and it still wouldn't make a difference. The B-2 is just that hard to spot. Its entire shape, its materials, even the way its engines are tucked in to reduce heat signatures. The B-2's stealth features are so sensitive that ground crews must wear special slippers when working on it, just to avoid damaging its skin. Even the moisture in the air is constantly monitored because the radar-absorbing coating can react to humidity in surprising ways. Even though Houthi radar crews were desperately scanning the skies, they never saw the B-2 bombers coming. And honestly, even if they hadn't been distracted by earlier airstrikes, their radar systems wouldn't have helped much. Most of their equipment, like the old Soviet-era P-18 spoon rest or the Iranian-supplied Qadr radar, relies on long-range L-band frequencies. That means they operate somewhere between 1 to 2 gigahertz, which works okay for tracking large ships at sea, but not for catching a glimpse of something like the B-2. Because stealth bombers like the B-2 Spirit are built to be invisible to that kind of radar. It's kind of like using a massive fishing net to try to catch a sewing needle. It's just not going to work. The B-2's special shape and radar-absorbing materials soak up nearly 80% of the radar waves aimed at it. The rest doesn't bounce straight back to the radar. Those signals scatter away at weird angles, making the plane nearly impossible to detect. The B-2's stealth design was inspired by the flying wing concept first dreamed up in the 1940s by Jack Northrop. But what's surprising is that the bomber's skin is covered with a rubbery material that's so sensitive to radar that it has to be repainted often, sometimes after every flight. So when those bombers cruised silently over healthy positions, their radar screens showed nothing but empty sky, no warning, no trace. And by the time they realized something was wrong, it was already too late. Bombs were raining down. As the B-2 bombers relentlessly pounded their additional targets, the next wave of Truman's F-18s swooped in to further crush Houthi positions. In no time, Navy jets destroyed more than a dozen key targets around Sada, including crucial communication towers and broadcast stations that were vital in issuing orders to Houthi forces in the field. It was a strategic strike designed to cripple their command and control infrastructure. On their second pass, the B-2 bombers unleashed a devastating barrage of 500-pound GBU-38 JDAMs. While the blast radius of these bombs was roughly 80 meters, about 10 times smaller than the 2,000 lb bombs they had dropped earlier that morning, the smaller payload was perfect for hitting enemy infrastructure with surgical precision. The reduced blast radius meant less risk of collateral damage to civilian homes and businesses, a rare and crucial consideration in such intense military operations. As the bombs fell, the B-2s quickly banked away, heading toward their next mission. Despite having unleashed destruction all morning, the Houthis had not fired a single missile in response. It was as if they were being struck without warning, the positions obliterated before alarms even had the chance to sound. The bombers' speed and stealth, thanks to their cutting-edge radar-absorbing materials and advanced flight tactics, allowed them to strike with such precision that the enemy was often left in the dark. This ingenious design feature, unique to the B-2, made it an almost ghost-like presence in the skies, making counterattacks nearly impossible. If you've ever looked at a jet flying, you've probably noticed that its engine exhaust gives off a massive amount of heat. This heat doesn't just disappear. Super advanced radars, capable of detecting infrared signals, can pick up that heat from miles away. These radars are so powerful that they can potentially lock onto a jet's heat signature, giving enemy forces a way to target it. But here's where things get interesting. Engineers came up with an ingenious solution to drastically reduce the B-2 Spirit bomber's heat signature, which makes it incredibly difficult for the enemy to track. Instead of the typical engine placement, which makes the heat easy to spot, the B-2's engines are cleverly hidden deep inside the aircraft's body. But that's not all. When the engines are running, the B-2 channels its exhaust through specially designed ducts that diffuse the heat before it even exists. This means that the aircraft's infrared signature is reduced to just 20% of what a normal jet would give off. Even if an enemy somehow manages to lock onto the B-2, it wouldn't be an easy hit. The aircraft comes with additional defense measures that make it even harder to keep that lock. If someone thinks about the B-2 design, it's like a game of hide and seek at the highest level of tech. The B-2's stealth technology wasn't just about hiding from radar, it also had to minimize heat signatures, which is one reason why the aircraft's shape and exhaust system are so unique. Later that same morning, the B-2 Spirit bombers finished their mission by striking 8 more high-value targets in Yemen's Amran Governorate. But this time, things were even more coordinated. The B-2 worked hand-in-hand with the Navy's E-2D Hawkeye surveillance aircraft. Using a special shared tactical data link known as Link 16, they could all see the same detailed 3D map of the airspace around them without ever having to turn on their radar. That's important because turning on the radar can give away your position. Instead, they stayed completely silent and invisible. Their weapon of choice once again was the GBU-31 JDAMs. But there's a twist. These may have been fitted with powerful penetrator warheads designed to smash deep underground. Because intelligence reports hinted these targets weren't what they appeared to be, they were disguised bunkers and underground data hubs, hiding beneath structures that looked like ordinary civilian buildings from the outside. These bombs were released from an altitude of around 50,000 feet. That's higher than Mount Everest, and it took them over 40 seconds to hit the ground. By the time the explosions rumbled across the landscape, those B-2 were already 50 miles away, safely heading home. That's how stealthy and fast they are, and the F/A-18 fighter jets from the aircraft carrier USS Truman didn't even get close. That was all part of the plan. They maintained strict no-fly zones, about 30 miles wide, around the B-2 target zones. This careful airspace separation, called deconfliction, meant that no friendly aircraft were ever at risk. It was like watching a perfectly timed aerial ballet, with each player hitting their marks flawlessly. The E-2D Hawkeye is like an airborne command center, with eyes that can scan hundreds of miles in every direction. Yet in this case, it kept those eyes passive, relying solely on shared data to keep everything in sync. The B-2 stealth bomber is equipped with some seriously advanced technology, making it almost invisible to the enemy. For starters, the aircraft is lined with specialized laser and radar warning receivers that cover its entire skin. These sensors give the B-2 a full 360-degree view of its surroundings, helping it detect potential threats without actively broadcasting any signals that could be detected by enemy radars. This passive approach to defense is a major advantage. The B-2 is fully integrated into the U.S. military's combat command and control systems, meaning it's always connected and ready to receive real-time updates. It can get target information during flight via satellite links and send mission data back through secure radio channels, including UHF, VHF, and HF frequencies. This constant communication with command centers ensures that the B-2 stays on top of any changing conditions or targets in the air. The B-2 is also linked to the Link 16 network, a secure system that connects different military assets across the battlefield, providing an even more accurate flow of information. While in flight, this gives the B-2 the ability to tap into critical data from a variety of sources, keeping it updated and ready to make split-second decisions. On top of that, the B-2 has a highly classified defensive system that scans the electromagnetic spectrum for any suspicious activity. If enemy radar locks onto the plane, this system alerts the crew, offering them various options for evasive actions. Whether it's adjusting the bomber's altitude, changing course, or even avoiding enemy air corridors altogether, this system ensures that the B-2 can outmaneuver threats before they get too close. The B-2 Spirit bomber is capable of carrying up to 40,000 pounds of ordnance in its internal bomb bays, located just beneath its sleek fuselage. Inside these bomb bays, the B-2 can transport an impressive arsenal. This includes up to 16 powerful 2,000-pound JDAMs, 8,500-pound MKI-82 bombs, or a single 30,000-pound GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator, which is specifically designed to penetrate hardened targets like bunkers. What's even more interesting is its ability to deploy either the B-61 or B-83 gravity bombs, which have adjustable yields, allowing for a tailored explosive impact. Interestingly, the B-2 is designed to be a stealth bomber, meaning it can deliver these heavy payloads while remaining virtually invisible to enemy radar. This gives it a strategic advantage, allowing it to strike deep into enemy territory without being detected. While the B-2 can carry nuclear bombs, thankfully, it hasn't been called into action for that purpose in the ongoing conflicts. For now, it remains a formidable weapon in conventional warfare, serving as a powerful deterrent. Its current role is a key part of the U.S. military's arsenal, providing the Trump administration with a robust option that's as close to the nuclear threshold as possible without actually crossing it. After completing its mission, the B-2 bombers, now with their bomb bays empty, know it's time to return to base. However, instead of retracing their steps and flying back the way they came, these highly advanced aircraft make a sharp right turn and head directly toward the middle of the Indian Ocean. This unexpected route is a strategic maneuver, taking them far from the danger zones, ensuring their safe return. What were two giant stealth bombers doing way out in the middle of nowhere? Tucked away about 4,000 kilometers southeast of Yemen is a remote island base called Diego Garcia. It's one of the most secretive and heavily guarded U.S. military bases on Earth, hidden in the middle of the Indian Ocean. For over 50 years, it's been a quiet powerhouse for American military operations, used as a launch pad for bombers, surveillance planes, and even nuclear submarines. And because it's so isolated, it's perfect for keeping operations off the radar, literally and figuratively. Just days after the March 29th strikes, satellite images and plane spotters started buzzing about something unusual. B-2 Spirit stealth bombers were seen moving around on the runways of Diego Garcia. Now, B-2s are rarely seen outside their home base in Missouri, so seeing 6 of them parked on this remote island was a major red flag. The Pentagon hasn't confirmed anything officially, but high-res satellite photos don't lie. Those 6 bat-winged aircraft on the ground? That's a bold message. The game has changed. Not many people know this, but Diego Garcia is the only U.S. military base built on an atoll that was forcibly emptied of its native population. In the 1960s and 70s, the Chagosian people were exiled so the island could be transformed into a top-secret military zone. To this day, they're still fighting to return. Even stranger is the island has been rumored to host secret intelligence operations involving advanced tracking systems and long-range drone control. Some conspiracy theories even claim Diego Garcia was somehow connected to the mysterious disappearance of Malaysia Airlines flight MH370, though that's never been proven. Diego Garcia is far from just another military base. It's a cutting-edge launch pad that plays a key role in long-range strike missions. Located about 3,000 kilometers from Yemen, it's perfectly positioned to target the Middle East, East Africa, and parts of Asia. A B-2 bomber can get to Yemen in just 5.5 hours from Diego Garcia, while from Missouri it takes about 12 hours. This means that, from the U.S., long-range missions could take up to 24 hours and need several air refuels. But Diego Garcia isn't a quick stop. It's built for the long haul. With its massive 12,000-foot runway and reinforced shelters, it can accommodate B-2 bombers for months at a time, giving the U.S. military a persistent and flexible presence in the region. Having B-2 bombers stationed here, even briefly, is a major statement. It's not just a one-off mission, it signals the U.S. is prepared for long-term, precise operations. This not only allows for faster response times, but also creates an atmosphere of pressure on adversaries, forcing them to act quickly or face the consequences. And this is a rare move. Diego Garcia isn't some headline-grabbing stunt. It's about quietly making a powerful statement without the need for public announcements. For the Houthis in Yemen, this presence is a strong signal that their infrastructure could be obliterated at any moment. To Iran, it serves as a reminder of the high costs that come with destabilizing the region. And for U.S. allies, it's proof of commitment, showcasing the U.S.'s ability to leverage stealth, speed, and precision. What's more fascinating is the history behind Diego Garcia itself. It was once a remote, uninhabited island until the U.S. established a military base there during the Cold War. Since then, it's become a critical strategic hub, and its role in global military strategy is far more important than most people realize. Having B-2 bombers on Diego Garcia, even temporarily, marks the beginning of a new era where the U.S. military can act in hours, not days, with a level of unpredictability that no one can easily anticipate. Thank you for watching another episode on our channel. While you are still here, click the video on your screen to see more mind-blowing videos like this one.